What up? What up? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Modi J and we're locked in. This is day 5 of the 8-day recaps of Them Season 2, and episode 5 is titled Luke 8:17. Now, the description of this says, a shocking phone call sends Edmund past the point of no return. Dawn follows an unexpected lead that brings her closer than ever to the killer. Now, before we jump into this and we break down this episode, if you like them content or just breakdowns, predictions, recaps of any show, then hit your subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you get something every time I upload. Make sure you hit that like button, and I'm on that road to a 50,000 subscribers. So each and every one of you, I appreciate you. Hit that like button if you don't see this at 100 likes. Now, let's get back into it. Dawn, she's piecing things together. We know she had a run-in with McKinney. We also know that Edmund has been wilding out and he kidnapped Donovan. So we're going to pick up right where we left off. This is episode 5, the recap. Episode 5 starts off in church, and we hear the choir in the background. Change is gonna come. And the pastor is talking to the pulpit and letting them know exactly what the Lord told him to tell to them. Now, Athena is out in the crowd. You have to remember, the reason she's at church, she's old school, but also she feels like she's regretting not telling Dawn that she wasn't her biological mother and that she adopted her. So it feels like the pastor is talking directly to her. And you know how it is when you get in there and you get that spirit. Athena, you know she might get up and start talking in tongues. We never know what she's going to do out here. Now, the first time we see Edmund, he's out in the desert. So they done drove from LA. Looks like they may have crossed over the border into Nevada, but he has Donovan. And if you remember, he kidnapped Donovan and he had him rewatching Halloween of 78, Donovan's birthday. Now, there's blood all on the shirt. If you remember, he broke Donovan's hands. It looks like he broke his legs and he done dug him a shallow ditch. Now you hear the pastor in the background saying, the Lord will not turn his back on any of us. And of course, Edmund is looking up to the sky, but he's not worried about this. He's lost his mind. He's just absorbing the vitamin D that's coming from the sun. Everything that's happening to Donovan is stemming from him laughing at Edmund at his first audition, and then it's just started compiling him going out and drinking with Rhonda, him hugging Rhonda at the end of the day's work, him telling him that he can't audition for that role. Well, Edmund, as we mentioned before, he's lost his mind, and we hear Donovan saying, man, I got a family, man, I got a kid. But Edmund ain't trying to hear that. He takes that shovel and he finishes the job that he started, and he buries him in this shallow ditch. Dawn has been staying over Reggie's house because of the news that she found out about her mom not actually being her mom. Now, Reggie, when they were asleep, you know how it is when you're snuggled up next to that special somebody. He said she was talking in her sleep. He was like, wow, it's something really stressful going on in her life. Now, you have to remember, she is a detective. She is dealing with different type of homicides, different cases throughout the day. But she gets up and she apologizes. But you can see that she's kind of distant. She just wanted to have that comfort of Reggie during the evening. And right now she's apologizing again for, hey, I just don't think we can do this anymore. And when Reggie hears that, she's about to walk out, he actually steps up and says, you know, I've been feeling you, but if it's going to be this way, I don't know if I can do this. Pastor comes over and he sits down with Athena. Now we see that she's really hurt. She didn't want anyone to get hurt in the situation about her and her husband keeping a secret that Dawn isn't her child. Now, the pastor, he's making a reference to Luke 8:17 and basically saying nothing that is known or hidden. I don't know the quote for sure, but long story short, he's saying what you did was supposed to happen. And the reason it came to the light is because it was supposed to happen. So don't look down on yourself as if you were doing something wrong because you felt that was right in the moment. Now all you have to do is right those wrongs, and you admitting it was the first step. The Double D detectives, Don and Diaz, they sit down and they have a Bloody Mary and a coffee. Now, Don's getting straight to it because she had a long night and we know she had a run-in with McKinney. Diaz is asking, is everything all right? And she says, listen, McKinney isn't who you think he is. There's some very dangerous people and there's going to be some repercussions coming along with this case. Are you down to stay on this case with me? Diaz is hearing this, and we know that he's also one of the cops that's one of the good guys, that no matter what it takes, he's willing to get the job done. And he says, listen, as long as you're on the case, Don, I'm going to be right there with you. Now, she's giving him a heads up. And from what we've seen in these first 4 episodes, this might be the best opportunity for you to get away from it. because I would hate to be boxed up, arms and legs and everything else broken and stuck into a box. But Diaz is down. Being that Diaz is going to stay on the case, he does have some information. And he gives Don a photo of a guy by the name of Gary Trent. Now, this guy, Homicide. This guy, his alibi is his girlfriend. She's not a trustworthy witness. They won't be able to use him. So this is another lead. And we remember that the little girls, the twins, they said that there was a man with red hair. So this is one of the leads that Don and Diaz are going to have to follow up on. Now, also, Diaz has found out about another Hispanic family that's been having an exorcism on their young boy, Benito. Now, when they show up, the mother, she doesn't speak any English, so she's talking directly to Diaz. Don sees the son, Benito, over in the window to the left. So while they're talking, she goes over to talk to Benito to try to get any information because there's an exorcism going down with this young man, and they're saying that he's seeing different individuals, potentially Gary, the guy with the red hair. Don has a way with children, so when she's talking to Benny, he's talking and he's a little bit nervous. He's looking around, but she's telling him, listen, I'm the police. I'm here to protect you. Even if it's somebody in your family, you can tell me. But what Benny says is the guy that he sees, he wants to kill him. Also, he's standing right where Don is standing. So Don is looking at this, thinking whoever this guy is, he's getting that close. But the kicker is Benny says, I see him in my mirror. Now, Don starts to think back about everything that's been going on because if you remember, everywhere else, the mirrors have been covered. So Benny is telling the same story that the little girls were, that the gentleman was, and Miss Mott. While Don is talking to Benny, he ends up giving her a piece of candy. She goes over to Diaz, has been talking to Benny's mother, and she said that this is not a job for the police, this is a job for the church, and did not let him enter the house. But Don also wants to know what else did she say. Well, Benny had a brother. He ended up getting sent back to Mexico. They came up here to live with her, but he couldn't adapt, so they sent him back to Mexico. So this has Don wondering, okay, Benny is seeing things in the mirror, saying that someone wants to kill him. There's a man with red hair that Diaz gave me as a suspect, but she won't let us in there. She wants the church to deal with it. She sets up a plan where they're going to come back and watch this house because if anything goes down, she wants to be there. Edmund hurries back up to the house, and once he gets there, he has to change his clothes and it looks like he's packing his bags up. Well, if you're going to commit a crime like this, the first thing you need to do is get rid of all evidence. All of the clothes that you wore that day, you need to bag it up or burn it or put it in different trash cans. Don't put it all together. But while he's doing this, he sees the Raggedy Andy doll. Now, we already know about this doll. It's been doing some strange things. But he ends up getting a phone call. And we've been wondering, who was he talking to that day trying to get that information? And they're asking him, does he have a pen? So he can write this information down because this is finally came in. Even though Dawn knows that her parents aren't her biological parents, she's still taking the pills because you never know. Maybe those symptoms could still run within her and maybe these pills will help her. But it looks like what she's trying to do is get over the thought that these aren't her real parents and keep it moving and just try to stay on her job and close this case. Now, this is where things are going to start to change up. We do get a flashback, but at this moment, we're seeing Edmund pull up to a house with a cake in a box, and he's getting ready to ring the doorbell. We just seen Dawn upstairs taking her pills. So once he rings the doorbell, she's coming downstairs to answer the door. When Dawn opens the door, we're thinking we're about to see her and Edmund come in contact for the first time. But no, as I said, this is where things start to take a little turn. When she opens the door, it's the present day. It's her son, Kale, ringing the doorbell because he left his keys. Now, where Edmund is, that's in the past, and that's where we're about to go now. He's pulling up to the house back in the day. In the past, when they open up the door, it's Corey. Now, Corey is Kale's father. At this moment, him and Don are still living together. And who showed up is Edmund with this birthday cake. And Corey's like, hey, can I help you? Who are you? Edmund plays it off like he's the new neighbor and he's just bringing a cake over to meet his neighbors and get to know everyone. Corey lets Edmund in because remember, this is the 80s. It isn't like 2024 where you don't let strangers in the house. He tells him to make himself at home. A neighbor of me is a friend of mine. Well, When he goes in the house, Edmund starts looking around and he sees a photo of a police officer. Then he also sees a picture of Dawn and her family members. And we're looking like, okay, this is the young Dawn here. We get to see a young Dawn and the young Edmund finally interact with each other. Now, what's been going on is he's been on the phone trying to find out who his siblings are because we found out that the doctor wasn't his father either, the white man who abandoned him. Now, when he comes over here, he's just admiring everything that Dawn has going on. She has a family, a husband, a son. The only thing we know about Edmund, he was abandoned on his 12th birthday and he's had no one. Now, while they're sitting here talking, you can tell that Edmund's a little nervous. And Dawn is a police officer. She's not quite a detective at the moment, but she's just watching and observing his body language. And she's starting to see that something is off. We already know that Edmund isn't all the way there. Edmund has fabricated a story talking about he has kids because he's still trying to fit the narrative that he's the new neighbor. Now, Corey, he's not paying no mind. But they start talking about their kids and how they're interacting, and he has two of them, and she's saying that you have a young boy. He develops a little bit slower, which is really them hinting on these two growing up. Edmund didn't develop as fast. Dawn, she's more mature. But Dawn starts to say, wait a minute, get your hands out of your pocket and turn around, because he's fidgeting and he doesn't know the true story about the resident that he done bought the house from. So Dawn, she's like, wait a minute. Her cop instincts kick in and she starts to pat him down. Corey, he doesn't even know what's going on. He's like, Dawn, you're tripping. As Edmund leaves the house, Dawn follows right behind him. And when he gets about halfway, she tells him, hey, turn around, let me talk to you. If you ever come around my family again, I will make sure I personally arrest you and I'm taking you down to the precinct and you won't be getting out. Edmund was only coming over here to see if the word is true that he has a real life sibling. So he's thinking that Dawn at this point is his sister, and her telling him that he can't come back, that's really hurting him and everything that he stands for, because he's looking for that love from family members. So what does Edmund do? He goes home, gets the tape recorder out, and he starts crying on camera. You got your job. You got your family. I don't have nothing. I just wanted to be loved by someone. He's losing it right now because Dawn told him she's gonna lock him up, and rightfully so. The dude is weird. Not like Edmund's character, but he is weird. And going home and recording this, recording yourself crying at any moment, that's some crazy work. But Edmund is losing it. Back in the present day, he found out the information that he might potentially have a sibling. Now he's in the living room doing Lord knows what. He's cutting up string and he starts hearing voices. You need to do it. What are you? You're nothing. And we're like, who the hell is that? Sure enough, it's the Raggedy Andy doll. Well, at least that's what he thinks. This voice might be in his head. Edmund ain't all the way there. We seen him catch a body. We seen how he flipped the switch and was scaring Rhonda. So right now, Edmund, we got him on high alert and we need to keep him on suicide watch. Diaz and Don, they show back up to Benny's house. Now they've been sitting outside waiting and watching and waiting because they want to see if any perpetrator is going to show up, the man with the red hair, or if this exorcism is really going to go down. Now, while they're sitting outside, they get to talking about the Lord and if they believe in it. Now, Diaz doesn't go to church often, but he does believe in the Lord. But while they're sitting here, we hear a loud scream coming from the house. When they get inside of the house, there's an exorcism going on, and it looks like young Benny is having a stroke. He's foaming from the mouth. They got their guns out because they don't know if someone's in here attacking. They don't know if someone's in here trying to rob the place. They don't know what's going on. So they make their way to the room, and all of the churchgoers are in the hallway crowding up the room. Dawn gets in there and they're still trying to continue this exorcism. She's like, Diaz, call the police, call the ambulance right now, right now. He gets on the rover. He calls, but the ambulance is saying it's going to be about 7 minutes before it gets there. So Dawn takes it and makes it an executive order. She picks up Benny and says it'll be faster if we just drive him to the hospital. So now she has this young boy that's potentially having a seizure, picked him up, put him in the car. She's speeding through the midnight. It's dark as hell. She got the young boy in the back convulsing, We see an image of Edmund, and he's still talking about, you got the perfect life. I want that. I need this in my life. And we're thinking, Edmund, you need to be quiet right now. Young Benny is in the back seat losing it. Well, Dawn, she finally pulls up to the hospital. And in the back seat, young Benny, all we heard was crack, crack. She opens up the back door, and we see Benny stiff as hell. R.I.P. to young Benny. He didn't make it. Maybe if they would have just waited on the ambulance. But Dawn, you know she's hurt, and I don't know how she's going to explain this one to the hospital or to the police force when they see this young boy's body back here when they were supposed to let the ambulance come and pick him up. All right, there you go. The recap for episode 5 of Them. Man, this series is crazy. We got some time jumps. We got Dawn actually witnessing Benny being snatched up and broken up. Edmund, he's losing it. He's just trying to find out who really loves him, who really messes with him. Let me know what you think. Go ahead and comment down below. We halfway through this, and man, this is an amazing season. My name is Modai J. If I say anything to make you go or think, or if you just like them breakdowns and recaps, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'm on that road to 50,000 subscribers, and I appreciate all of y'all. Love y'all. I'm out.